having played in a league with them for 5 years, you start to recognize the tendencies of certain players. And I mean, I just have a lot of respect for all of them too. And I'm proud of all of us for sticking with this league and still being a part of it. Yeah, I'm proud to be a part of the NWHL and what we're doing for women's hockey and women's sports in general. So just hats off to them for still being a part of it.
Hello, women's hockey fans. Erica Ayala here, bringing you another installment of our Original 8 series. This is conversations that I have had, one-on-one conversations with each of the Original 8. We have 2 more to secure to make it a full set. Pretty confident in one, still working on another, but I will keep you updated. All that to say, this Wednesday, you will hear my conversation with Corinne Buie. Corinne Buie has been in the league all 5 years, just like all of the other Original 8. She started out with the Boston Pride and won the 2016 Isabel Cup with that team, and then she won the 2017 Isabel Cup with the Buffalo Beauts, and that's where she has remained for the last 4 seasons of her NWHL career. Corinne and I spoke just before the play-in game for Season 5. The Buffalo Beauts were hosting the Connecticut Whale. Corinne and the Beauts did not get past the Connecticut Whale to keep her streak alive, but you will hear her refer a little bit to being able to play in every Isabel Cup final. Then I talked to Corinne, as I do with all of the other Original 8, about some of the other players in the league that have played all 5 seasons. I talked to her about what she hopes for the next 5 years of the NWHL. And we also had a really interesting conversation about some of the ways that Corinne herself has transitioned, what she's doing off of the ice. And I'm going to let her tell it, but I'll give you a little bit of a hint. If Corinne ever wants to work for the Founding Four Pod, she is welcome with open arms. This is my interview with Corinne Buie. As I mentioned, Corinne, I also wanted to talk to you about you being one of the 5 players that's been in the league from the beginning. And so I have a little bit of a template that we'll go off of. I'm asking similar questions to all 8 of the players, and then just some that will cater towards your experience in particular. But first, when you kind of sit back and think, now that you're getting ready for the playoffs, I mean, you've done this, you've gone into the playoffs 5 times, and you've come out of the playoffs 2 times as Isabel Cup champion. Just thinking about the entirety of your career, what makes you most excited, most thankful? What do you reflect on the most when you think of particularly your playoff appearances in these past 5 seasons?
Well, I'm trying not to think about it too much because I've been fortunate enough to make it to the final game every year. So just take it one game at a time. We've got to make it past Friday to make it to the semifinal round. So I'm just focusing on that Friday game. And, March is always an exciting time of year for me. My birthday is on March 7th, so it always comes up right around the time of playoffs. And I'm just really excited. There's nothing like playoff hockey, and I'm just super pumped.
Yeah, well, happy birthday, early birthday to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and as you said, it's in some ways a different position than the Beauts have been in, but in other ways, maybe not so, because this is the second year now that you've had or the league has had a play-in game, I should say. The first time that the Beauts are in this position. Do you think that changes anything, Corinne, knowing that, that it's one game throughout the rest of the season to not only get to that final, but to hoist the cup?
I think it changes things a little bit because, it's just one more do or die game. But this year we did play, we don't have to worry so much as far as like in the previous season, we only played like one game a weekend. But now we play the 2 games a weekend. So we shouldn't be too worried about playing Friday and then when we win, having that travel day Saturday and going to Boston, playing 2 games. But, it's just one more pit stop on the way to to hopefully winning the Isabel Cup.
There you go. There you go. Keeping the eye on the prize.
Yep.
For sure. And so, again, you are one of 8 players to be in this league since the beginning. And what I've been asking each of the players as I speak to them is, obviously there have been players that you've been able to take that journey alongside as teammates, but then there's a good majority of those 8 players that you've faced in the past 5 seasons. And so the latter is what I'd like you to focus on. When you think of some of the players that you have not played on an NWHL team with, because I know that you've played on CWHL teams with some of them perhaps, but when you think of the NWHL in particular, and you think of a player like Madison Packer, Shannon Doyle, you've got Jordan Brickner that you haven't played with, and you didn't play with Kaylee Fratkin or Elena Orlando either. I think I got everyone. So you basically played with Dempsey, and you're the last standing Butte. So, but when you think of those other players, and do you game plan a little bit differently to go up against any one of them? What are your thoughts about them also being 5-timers? Just anything you can share about, again, your opponents that are in a similar position to yourself.
I wouldn't say that I like prepare differently, but I mean, you've gotten to see having played in a league with them for 5 years, you start to recognize the tendencies of certain players. And I mean, I just have a lot of respect for all of them too. And I'm proud of all of us for sticking with this league and still being a part of it. Yeah, I'm proud to be a part of the NWHL and what we're doing for women's hockey and women's sports in general. So just hats off to them for still being a part of it.
Yeah, and that's something that I think has been consistent from everyone that I've spoken to, and just that in anything in life, right? Sticking something out over time can be tough. But then you think of where women's hockey is, and not just the NWHL, unfortunately, but just all of women's hockey, where you really do have to calculate what your career is going to look like post college, and even if you have a career. So for you, I'm curious what year to year that has looked like, and what brings you back to playing every season in the past 5 years.
Well, I guess it's just the love of the game and loving to compete and be a part of a team. And hockey's been a part of my life since I was 6 years old. And I've been living in Buffalo. I've been more and more comfortable here each year. So if there's an opportunity to play, I want to be able to play. I guess I kind of have put my career on hold a little bit, but I'm not regretting that. I am yeah, I've been working. I was working at a coffee shop for 3 years, or the 4 years, and then I actually just this past year started pursuing studying audio engineering, and it was like a flexible program that allowed me to still be playing hockey and everything. And I've taken that program, and I am not working at the coffee shop anymore. I've been working at Buffalo State College as like a sound, like a stage tech, audio um, like a stage tech stagehand,
Yeah.
like just learning in that field. So I'm still able to pursue other things outside of hockey and still able to play. So it's great.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, fingers crossed, Founding Four podcast ever gets big, and we need a producer. Now I know who to
Hey,
call.
yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So I want to stay there for a little bit. Was that always something that was interesting to you? Just kind of being able to deal with, as you said, audio and sound. I mean, podcasts are a really big deal right now.
Yeah, that's really taking off. I guess so. I got my degree in college in marketing, and it wasn't really something that I guess I was more, let's say, focused on hockey in college, and I had to choose a major. I had to choose something like there was a little bit of a spark of interest in marketing for me, but after college, when looking to jobs, that wasn't really something I was looking to get behind a desk and take a marketing job or anything like that. So I've always been really passionate about music and like creative things. So when my friend took this same program and she kind of encouraged me to jump into it, and I had the availability to do it. So I decided to do it, and it was exciting to be going back. Like a few years after college, it's just I wanted to go back and learn a new skill. Learning is exciting, so it was fun for me to get to be a student again.
Yeah, absolutely. Buffalo State. One of my sisters went there
Yeah,
for
and there
undergrad. Yeah, she had
that
a good
yeah,
time.
it's a really good school, especially for the arts.
Yeah,
And yeah, there's so many opportunities in that field, so I figured it would be a good opportunity for me.
that's amazing. I love that you're able to do that. And, I think that going back to school is always something that's tough, especially if you've been out for a little while. But in this case, in some respects, it sounds like at least you being able to continue your passion for hockey has left your schedule a little flexible, and now perhaps you are pursuing a passion elsewhere off the ice. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
That,
exactly.
that's really cool. That's really cool. And it kind of reminds me also of, I was able to speak with Anya and Lovisa Salander because I know both of them are taking part in that crossover into business program. And it seems like there are more programs that are realizing that, I mean, big shocker here, but, that athletes also have other interests.
Yeah.
And then it might be nice to, while they are professional athletes, to also gain some other skills that help them as they transition out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this kind of leads into another question that I've been asking all of the five timers, as I like to say. But that is, if you look ahead into the next 5 years, let's say of the NWHL, what would be some things, and maybe it is some of the accoutrement, as I like to say, of what it means to be in this league, such as educational opportunities. But, what would you like to see? What do you hope for something that you had a very real part in maybe not creating from the ground up, but certainly for sustaining as an athlete, as a pioneer?
I guess I'd just like to see like steady growth and continuing to build our fan bases, and uh, hopefully if we can expand into other markets and get some more teams and just growth, more marketing, more people to know about us, Um, Obviously I'd like to see more stability as far as like stuff for being a player, higher salaries. But I know that this takes time and this is like a big deal growing a league from the ground up. So as long as we can keep uh, going in the right direction and being patient with it, I think that's good. I think
Yeah.
we're on the right path.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, there certainly have been some hurdles this year, and there've been hurdles every year. If we're being completely honest, I think we can
Yeah.
say that without it being a shocker. There have been a lot of hurdles for
Yeah, it's been a
individual.
roller coaster.
Yeah, for individual teams, obviously for individual players, and as a league as a whole. But I am curious. Another thing I've been asking is, do you see yourself as a part of that future in the next 5 years, whether it's as a player or any other ways that you desire to get involved in women's hockey, even if that means your playing days are done?
I guess I kind of feel like last year I was like, oh, we'll see. And then I started playing, and then now, like, thinking of it again, I'm like, oh, we'll see. But I mean, I'm probably going to be, I don't really think like too far down the road, but like, I, I guess I'm not ready. I don't see myself as being ready to hang up the skates. So I guess I'm still keeping up with the game and everything. So I guess I'll probably want to continue to play. And um, yeah, I don't want to, I'm not ready to walk away from the sport. So, and if opportunities come about to support it in other ways, I'll probably want to do that too. So I guess we'll see.
All right, we're keeping it open. I'm here for it. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
I'm not the biggest planner.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You like
Yeah.
to kind of know when you've made your choice, and then let folks know along the way. I get it. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I will ask you just a few more here before I let you go, Buie. But I want if you could maybe share what have been some of your fondest memories as part of the league. Any special travels? Obviously, again, I mentioned you've got 2 championships, so that's pretty exciting. But if someone were to ask you to do a roundup of, let's say, maybe like top 3 to 5 moments while being with the NWHL, I mean, what off the top of your head comes to mind?
I guess there's just so many moments that are special, like being a part of a team and hanging out in the locker room. You kind of dread those long bus rides, but you can sometimes those end up being like the funnest of times, sitting on the back of the bus with your friends and just being immature and making jokes and being goofy. We've had a lot of fun this year with that. Uh, the autograph signings with seeing the little girls come through the line and smiling and wanting to take pictures with us and wanting to, I think we all see ourselves in those little girls coming through the line. That was us when we were younger. So those are really special moments. And then, yeah, I think those are just what pop out to me. Besides, like the championships are obviously really special, but
Yeah,
just having fun with the team and being able to be role models for the girls and all the fans and everything.
yeah, it does seem like it's this really great responsibility, and I mean that in all forms of the phrase. It's exciting, but I would imagine that it can be kind of like, oh man, like, do you ever really think about that? I mean, even in your day to day, like people know me as someone in the NWHL. Does that ever change how you go about things?
Um, I guess I'm just used to it by now, having it. Uh, I've kind of always been like known as like, oh, she's the hockey player.
Yeah.
Like when I see, like when I go, and it's kind of always been like that for me. So I mean, it's something I enjoy. Um, Being able to be like a spokesperson for the sport and everything. And you know, people talk to me about the Buttes and the league and everything all the time. So it's a great responsibility, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, well, you take it on like a true pro, and
Thank
so
you.
it's been a joy to watch you over the last several years and see your leadership style grow, and we'll see. There's still more to come. It sounds like, so I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, as
Thanks for helping out and doing so much for the league and everything.
I appreciate that. I truly do. But it's a joy of mine. And anything that's able to help highlight all of the players is truly a joy of mine. But thanks for joining this special episode of the Founding Four Pod. And like I said, I'm gonna have to hit you up, get you some producer credits or something.
That would be awesome.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you before the end of the season. But best of luck this weekend.
Thank you so much.
As always, thank you for listening to the Founding Four podcast. We know there's lots going on, lots to be vigilant about when it comes to our health and safety, in particular as coronavirus is making its way around the world and impacting us here in North America. All that said, please take time out to do whatever brings you joy. And for me, that is bringing you the Founding Four podcast. Thank you to those who are a member of the Sports Talk with ELA podcast or Patreon posse. Your monthly subscription allows me to keep the show going. And who doesn't want some women's hockey talk as we find ourselves without sports altogether? A special shout out to the NWHL Players Association, which made a donation towards the work that I do, specifically the Founding Four podcast. That was very unexpected, but much appreciated. Thank you, Anya Packer. Thank you to the entire Players Association, not just for the donation, but for sharing your stories. We heard from Corinne. This installment, we'll hear from Jillian Dempsey on the next edition of the Original 8. Recently had a conversation with Kaylee Fratkin that I think everyone will really enjoy. And just thank you. Thank you to everyone. And hopefully we can continue this women's hockey, this WoHo community, and be supportive of each other, whether that's rewatching games together or having fun trivia and all that good stuff. I hope to bring interviews to the table. And we also know that we have the NWHL Open Ice that's still going strong, so check that out. And we'll just keep going day by day. Stay healthy, stay happy, and if you are so inclined, listen to the Founding Four podcast to keep your spirits up. All right, folks, next week on the Original 8, you'll hear from Jillian Dempsey. I had a really great conversation with Jillian. It was kind of two conversations, but her insight on the game is amazing. It's been really great to see Jillian Dempsey shine in the NWHL for those of us who weren't lucky enough to know her during her CWHL career or her career at Harvard and well before. You'll hear from Jillian Dempsey next week. We'll keep the Founding Four pod going with different one-on-one interviews. Of course, there's a lot to analyze just about how teams, how players around the world are dealing with no worlds. The championships, the Frozen Four was brought to an end. And of course, we have that the Isabel Cup final was postponed. So lots of reflecting to do for sure, and hope to capture some of that on the Founding Four pod. But for now, signing off. Until next time, Erica Ayala,